Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by SnapTerms, online legal protection made simple. Visit snapterms.com and enter the code TWIST to receive 10% off. And by PagerDuty, serving as the hub of your operations, aggregating all of your infrastructure, monitoring tools, and alerting the right people and teams at the right time. Sign up today at pagerduty.com/twist to get a free t-shirt with your first alert. This week, in the last episode of our Rock Health Summit series, Jason sits down with two entrepreneurs innovating in the health space, Joanna Strober of Kurbo Health and Munjal Shah of HealthIQ.
That's what it's all about, man. They said, money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis, the host of This Week in Startups, and we're here at the Rock Health Summit. Basically, a bunch of healthcare companies, a bunch of healthcare founders who are crazy enough, and I mean truly crazy, to go into one of the most difficult spaces you can choose. It's always been known that if you want to beat your head against a brick wall as a founder, pick music or healthcare. Why? Because you have these huge incumbents who move so slow. And in the case of music, they like to kill the companies. And in the healthcare, they kind of like to inadvertently kill the companies because they move so damn slow with so much gosh darn regulation. It's brutal. But things are changing. So much so that I actually invested in a healthcare company, Better. You guys tried the Better app. Because I think that mobile and just the sort of culture that's going on in the world today, people want to take control of their healthcare. And so we searched around this Rock Health Summit, and we found the best companies. And there were dozens of companies here. But one of the best ones that executive producer Jackie found, award-winning producer, was Kurbo Health.
Yes.
Kurbo Health.
That's right.
Kurbo. What does Kurbo stand for? You made that word up?
So we had a group of 15 kids who were on our advisory board, and they helped us. They had all lost weight in different ways, and they helped us build the company and the app, and they chose the name.
They chose the name.
They did.
Kurbo. I like it. It feels like a name of somebody who was in Big Hero 6 or something like
combination
movie.
of turbo and curbing. Yeah. So that was the goal.
I like
curbing
it.
Our unhealthy foods, and we're turbocharging things.
Okay, and you're Joanna Strober.
I am.
You're the CEO and co-founder of the company. You can go check out the company right now. It's good to make up a word because Kurbo.com was available.
That's right.
Or you paid somebody a small amount of money.
Small amount of money, right.
And you can trademark it. That's the great thing. You have Kurbo in all mediums for all times because you made your own word up.
That's right.
Pretty tight. Okay, so what is Kurbo?
So
why is it important
Kurbo
to you?
it's actually the only safe and effective weight management platform for kids and teenagers to help them lose weight. So if you look at the world of weight loss and you look at whether it's MyFitnessPal or Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig or any of them, they're all for only 18 and over. So we're the only one that's pretty much proven safe and effective for kids under 18.
Why do those other companies do 18 and above? Is there a liability issue with kids?
There's a calorie counting issue. We don't want kids to count calories.
Why not?
So when my son looked at MyFitnessPal and I was showing him how to lose weight, and he said, well, look, it says I can have 1,500 calories. That's 5 bags of pretzels or potato chips a day. Right? So kids need to eat healthier. We don't want them to count their calories. And so all these other programs are calorie-based, and they know that it's not safe for kids.
And perhaps adults need to take a lesson from kids as well and maybe not count calories as much as portion control and what you eat.
That's right. So that's what we treat. We teach people who use our program portion control and what they eat.
How does the program manifest itself and where did it come from? How did you create this program, as it were?
So my co-founder, Thea, had been the lead behavior coach at the Stanford Pediatric Weight Control Program for 15 years.
Lead behavior coach. Is that like a psychology degree or a nutrition degree?
She has a degree in Masters of Public Health, but she had learned how to coach families to have better eating habits and to coach kids how to have better eating habits. So we licensed the Stanford program, and theirs is an in-person program. So you go there and you meet with people and you have a paper-based food diary. And we essentially turned their whole program, all their educational materials and their whole process into an app with mobile coaching.
All right. Let me ask you what some people may consider maybe a little bit of an offensive question. But when you see fat kids, right? And I hate to use the word fat.
No,
but
good.
People like are extremely obese. And you see parents who are not fat and they have obese fat kids.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about kids who are 6, 7, 8 years old, 9 years old. This is the parents' fault.
So, it's funny. So first of all, 40% of all kids in the United States are overweight or obese. Unfortunately, it's a really big problem.
Is it child abuse? I mean, I'm sorry to get out. I'm not even let you answer the question, but I am enraged when I see it. Am I right or wrong to be enraged when I see it?
So some of it is the parents.
Okay.
Certainly with the really young kids, we can help a kid who's 6 or 7 lose weight without ever talking to them. It's all about the parent. Right? At some point, however, it does become both the parent and the kid eating habits and patterns. And so
do you know what
need
that
to
point
help
is?
them.
Is it like
At what age it is?
Yeah. Or does it have to do with like personal freedom?
I think it's a lot of. So I have to tell you that I started the company because I had an overweight kid.
Yeah.
So
when I say that, like, did you feel? And that's why I sort of put the disclaimer on it, because I'm trying to be honest here. It's a very emotional reaction that I think people have.
Yeah.
Do you feel it was your fault? Do you feel that you were doing something wrong? And why did that happen in your life?
So I have 3 kids and one of them had a weight problem.
Wow, that's very interesting, because that's not what you normally see.
That's right. So from my case, I did have to make changes. My son was eating a lot of smoothies. We all think that smoothies are healthy. It actually turns out that smoothies have a lot of calories in them. He liked white bread, and he was eating a lot of white bread. So you think, overweight kid, Coke, McDonald's.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
But the reality is a lot of kids, it's not,
bread.
It's juice and bread and yogurt and all the foods that the kids are fed all the time that we don't think are unhealthy, that are actually just very high in calories.
Let me ask you another personal question, because this is becoming a fascinating interview that we can both probably learn from, and I could probably learn a lot from. When you saw your child becoming overweight, how long was it before it started to absolutely, because I'm a parent now too, but only one child, 5 years old. At what point did it hit you like, oh my God, I am doing something wrong here. I have to make a dramatic change. Did you feel like this tremendous sense of guilt? And
so here's what happens. You go to the doctor, and the doctor, no, don't worry, your child's going to outgrow it. Then at age 11, I went to the doctor, and instead of hearing that, they're like, you really have a big problem. You better do something about it.
So mixed signals.
Total mixed signals, but also what a terrible thing to hear as a parent. But what I learned is they were really good at telling me that I had a problem. And then they're like, okay, go home and come back in 3 months. They had no suggestions for me. And so you're very much left to go home and try to figure out, what am I doing wrong?
Right.
That was actually the impetus to start the company, was to say, okay, what am I doing wrong? And why are there no tools to help me? And so my search was, how do I find a tool that would help me?
And that's how you found Stanford, I take it?
Yeah, that's right.
Let me just speaking of Snap, thanks to our friends at Snap Terms. If you have a website and you need to have a proper terms of service and privacy policy, because if you don't, you're going to get chased by some ambulance-chasing lawyers who will file massive litigation against you. And then, hey, terms of services are expensive, and that's why we use Snap Terms here. They're simple, affordable, and they're fast. Go to thisweekinstartups.com/legal, and you'll see ours. Snapterms.com, you can get started for only $299. Use the promo code TWIST and you'll get 10% off. Everybody who has used it in our audience loves it, and it's super affordable, and you don't want to skimp on a terms of service. And also, if you do it with a law firm, it's probably going to be a couple $1,000. And they do all kinds of complicated stuff too. So if you're a content site or e-commerce site or a community site, they can customize your Snap Terms to them. It's a pretty slick product. Go to snapterms.com and check that box off of your launch checkboxes of things you have to do before you actually put your product in the wild. I've heard about this program, and I think they also do it for adults. Is that correct? As having this tremendous efficacy.
It does have tremendous efficacy.
What is the efficacy like in the program, and what is the secret to that efficacy in your mind?
Yeah. So our efficacy, it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
We are showing clinical efficacy in our program that is way better than we expected.
Yeah.
We did not think that we would actually be getting as good of results as we're getting.
Yeah.
The kids come in our office and they hug us and they say that we've changed their life. I mean, it's a very powerful thing.
It's a very personal thing, this obesity thing. I know because I was 25 pounds heavier than I am right now, and I'm on TV, so people can look at those episodes. And I was so I generally don't feel bad about myself. And I was like, why can't I handle something like this? Why don't I have self-control? And I'm not like a self-loathing kind of person to get down on myself, but I was really like, had a conversation with my wife. I was like, why can't I get this under control? And then finally I was able to. But it is a very personal issue, isn't it?
So what we do is we give you a coach, and that coach will communicate to you however you want, whether it's text, email, FaceTime. That coach is your support system. And we give you constant feedback. So kids, we follow something called the traffic light diet, which was created by Len Epstein, who's on our advisory board. The traffic light diet.
Okay.
So instead of counting calories, all food is classified as red, yellow, green, based on caloric density.
Okay.
And we get you to initially just count how many reds are you eating, and then slowly reduce those reds. And if slowly you just, 7% a week, it's not a lot of reduction, but if slowly you reduce the number of reds that you eat, you lose weight. But the important thing is that kids get to choose what reds they eat. So instead of me, the mom, coming in and saying, you can't eat this anymore, and making you feel bad.
Which becomes quite a dynamic. I've seen this already.
Yes. Instead of that, the kid is empowered.
Right.
So, with my son, he lost 18 pounds doing the program. Wow. It was amazing. And
that must have made you feel so great.
Oh, yeah. You should see him now. He just looks great. So, but, he'll come downstairs, even in the program, and he had 2 Girl Scout cookies for breakfast. And normally I would have gotten angry, right? But now I just say, okay, did you track those? And he said, yeah, Mom, they're my reds for the day. And we're done.
Wow. So no drama.
That's right. So we take the food police role. We put it into Kurbo. And instead, you have a supportive system that helps you to lose weight instead of your parents or the doctor making you feel bad.
So what are the parents who, let's say you had mixed signals and you got it under control, these other parents who don't get it under control, have you studied that piece of the psychology? Because as amazing as the efficacy of your solution will be, Kurbo can't work unless a parent embraces it, correct?
So one thing we try to do is we hear from the kids, for example, what red foods the parent is bringing in the house, and then we text the parent and we say, we would like to suggest that you start taking out the orange juice, the Gatorade, the Coke. We'd like to suggest here are some yellow light foods to bring in for snacks in the afternoon so that the pretzels and potato chips are gone. So it is a family issue. We can't get things to change without getting the whole family involved.
Right. So it's a requirement that you have the parents.
It's not a requirement because some parents just don't want to do it. And I can help that kid regardless, but we definitely have more success when we get the parents engaged. Yeah.
Have you done any studies on the psychology of those parents or what the situation is? Because I do hear often, hey, this is a, single parent and, oh my God, that, there's a budget issue. They don't have enough money to buy the healthy food. And then I look at the price of like vegetables and eating healthy, and it's cheaper than Captain Crunch and some of the more expensive food. So is this idea that it's more expensive to eat healthy true or not?
Yeah, it's not true.
It's not true.
Some of it is true, right? Blueberries, a box of blueberries is the same as a hot dog or hamburger from McDonald's. So to some extent it is true, but I can help you by just telling you to drink water instead of orange juice, getting rid of the Gatorade.
That's actually saving money.
It's saving money. Getting rid, changing the Captain Crunch to Cheerios.
Yeah.
So there are basic things that we can help you with that don't cost more money. And that's what we try to focus on.
So how do you deploy the product? How do you acquire customers for it? Because that's sort of what I'm getting at is I think there's a parental responsibility issue, obviously education.
Right.
In your case, you were educated and you took action. But there's a bunch of people who, I think there's a large and in charge and fat is beautiful capitulation in this country where people who have become obese, I don't mean to offend people when I say the word fat, but I think fat is offensive to people. Mm-hmm. But I call myself when I was fat. If you, it's not the normal state of being to be fat.
Yeah. So
and
let me tell you.
It's horrible in terms of your health.
Right.
Why does this country believe the sick narrative that fat is cool?
What you're getting at is something really hard. When we advertise on Google, we say, help your child lose weight, right? Like lose weight, kids. Yeah. People come to our website. When they come to our website, if it says lose weight, they don't want to show it to their child because they don't want to tell their child that they're overweight. It's a crazy thing. I'll have moms call me and say, my daughter is 180 pounds and she really needs this, but I don't want to tell her that she needs to use Kurbo. So listen to what we did. We don't talk about weight. We talk about your personal health coach, and our downloads went way up.
Wow. So you take the stigma out.
Right.
And you don't have those like trigger words.
Right.
But wow, Freud would have a field
That's
day
right.
with the parent who is unwilling to tell
That's
their
right.
child they're overweight.
That's right. Isn't that so complicated, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, I mean, it's been a challenge for us. We had to change a lot of our marketing.
It sounds almost passive aggressive. Like it's almost like they're enabling the child to be overweight. Like they want to keep them in some state of obesity, because if the parent did truly tell a child the truth, hey, you're overweight, this is dangerous.
That's right.
You need to exercise, and we're not going to have this food in the house anymore. It's unacceptable to be fat like this. You cannot operate in the world. You will die young. Like these parents are unwilling to say that.
They don't want to say that.
Yet they want to help. Mm-hmm. Talk about cognitive dissonance.
So that's what we've learned is that the parents think they're going to, well, the crazy thing is they think they're going to give them a self-esteem problem if they mention weight, but they have a self-esteem problem.
I mean, these kids are hyper aware.
You're not doing your child a favor. The research is actually terrifying.
Explain.
Boys who are overweight, actually, it's like the equivalent of not going to college. That's how much you get hit in your income. And for women, obese women, the more overweight you are, the less likely you are to have a good job. It's a direct correlation.
Isn't that amazing?
So there's a lot of discrimination. So you might not even think about it in terms of, you can think about it in terms of really helping their overall development and career potential by helping them to lose weight.
I mean, and our job as parents is to enable our children to become productive members of society and take care of themselves so when we're not around anymore. So just on an economic basis, you have parents who are obsessing over what job they'll have, not realizing they're going to take whatever percentage hit for being obese. And I can tell you, people are not honest about this, but when they see somebody who is obese, fat, whatever word you want to use, in a job interview, whatever, the first thing that comes to almost universally everybody's mind is, why can't this person control their weight? And if they cannot control their weight, can they do a good job at this job? And so people don't want to say that, but that is how the world views obesity.
That's why we want to help these kids at age 10, right? I have kids who have lost, 25, 40 pounds at age 12. That changes their life. It truly changes their life.
It's amazing.
They change how people treat them. They tell us how differently people treat them. Their teachers are nicer to them.
Yeah.
They are able to do well in PE, so they're not embarrassed anymore. I mean, the benefits are enormous.
Such a complicated issue, because I'm thinking about, like, society is in one way enabling obesity by saying it's okay to be obese, right? And I kind of have a problem with that, like this large and in charge and like it's okay and fat people's rights and the right to be obese. It's like people fighting for the right to have cancer or something in terms of like, well, I have the right to have lung cancer, I should smoke. And we sort of said in society, like, it's kind of not acceptable. But then, you also have this, it does take this tremendous emotional toll on people, and they need our sympathy and support.
That's right.
It's a hard line.
It is hard. So that's our goal. We're the only thing out there right now. I mean, it's actually pretty amazing to me that there's nothing else out there. So truly, if your child, go Google it. If you are told that your child has a weight problem, go figure out what to do, because if you don't have Kurbo, we're the only thing that's available.
There's no brand around this. Mm-mm. So how long have you been doing it? How many people, broad strokes, have gone through the program?
Yeah.
And what would the efficacy be like in terms of, I guess, keeping the weight off is what people would say?
So, we're still early on that one, obviously.
Okay, yeah.
We launched to the public in September.
Okay, so only 5 months or 6 months, yeah.
And we have hundreds of kids paying $75 a month to do the program.
$75 a month. So this is not cheap.
No.
But $1,000 a year or $900 a year is a bargain to solve this issue now.
Right. That's right. And we have also an app that people can use for older kids. They don't need the coaching as much. Mm-hmm. And so we have tens of thousands of people who have downloaded the app.
The coaching is so key, isn't it?
That's right. So we actually have a coaching package where you can either talk to the person or you can actually just get text messages. And older kids
two different prices?
Mm-hmm.
So what is the price?
So the $25 a month is just for text coaching.
Do kids want the text coaching more than the talking on the phone coaching?
So what happens is a lot of the parents start with the text coaching, and that works for a little while, and then they need extra motivation, so they upgrade to the regular coaching.
Fascinating.
And then we've also seen the opposite, right? After a few months of the more intensive coaching, they'll switch to the text coaching.
So is it video or audio when they do
However they want it.
Oh, however they want.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a very interesting thing. Having to look somebody in the eye and say, yeah, I ate 4 red things today. I really fucked up. And the other person saying like, yeah, you screwed up.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's a new day. Go for a walk around the block.
That's what
Get some rest, drink some water. We'll start over tomorrow, get a reboot.
That's right. Or a kid will say, I haven't exercised this week because it's cold outside. So we'll send him an exercise video and we'll say, try this.
Yeah, or the cold is good because you burn more calories in the cold.
Right. Or, can you make a deal with your mom to just go walk the dog 4 times this week?
Yeah.
And then we'll check in and say, oh, did you go walk the dog 4 times that week?
Now, the amazing thing about your business is because you're charging, the lifetime value of the customer you'll figure out over time, but I'm going to guess it's 6, 12 months or something.
Yeah.
That is there a specific arc to the program or is it goal-based?
We urge you to start with 3 months, and we're finding that people are sticking with it after that.
Great. So if it's 5 or 6 months, just call it 5, and you're charging $75 a month or $25 a month, you could actually be acquiring customers pretty effectively through Google keywords or Facebook or Twitter ads.
That's right.
And that's starting to happen? Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, their numbers this week are fabulous. It's really exciting.
I love what you're doing in terms of a business. This equivalent does exist for adults, right? There's online dietitians for coaching you. What do they charge? Because
about the same.
About the same, $75 a month is the going rate. And then that person can handle X number of clients, and you're figuring that out.
That's right.
So
one thing that's different with us is that if you look at Vita or Rise, they're marketplaces. So they are not spending the time training the people. And so we're talking to kids, right? We are talking to your most precious thing. And I know as a parent, I don't just want a random person talking to my child. So we put them up through a very intensive training program.
Yeah. And
we have pretty strict guidelines on who's able to be the coaches. So we train them and we monitor them.
Yeah, there is going to be a big cost if one of those coaches were to not be who they say they are.
That's right. So we have for us, it's more expensive. We actually start with them working in the office and we listen to their phone calls and we train them.
Are all phone calls monitored or all text monitored?
So everything is monitored.
Platform?
That's right.
Oh, see, that's very smart.
So we care a lot about these kids. And so we are very careful to make sure that they're protected.
Yeah. I mean, if you had a male dietitian with a female 14-year-old or 12-year-old and it got inappropriate. Oh, my God. We interview you initially.
Yeah. We screen. We find out what interest your child is. If your daughter's an athlete, we'll hook her up with a soccer player. Right. If your son is a video gamer, we'll hook him up with a video gamer. We're very cautious about.
Okay, everybody, I want to tell you about a very cool startup that we use here at Inside.com and that handles one of the most important issues that you will deal with when your company hits scale. It's called PagerDuty. And if you're a technical person, you know what that is. And if you're a non-technical person, half of you know what that is. PagerDuty is what your highly talented developer team has to deal with over Christmas, over New Year's, over Thanksgiving, which is if the website goes down, if the app is broken, whatever happens to your technical stack during off hours is PagerDuty. The time when your tech team has to be on edge, that they may have to walk out of a movie, take their laptop out of their bag, connect over 4G, and try to solve whatever problem is happening. Literally, this is the life of developers, is being on duty like this, like they're doctors. And they literally have to carry their laptop around, carry an eVDO connection. And if they're not, if they don't have that, if they're going to be in an area that doesn't have connectivity, they can't be on PagerDuty. Anyway, it's a very intense thing. It creates a lot of back and forth, and it could cause people to leave a company. Good people will leave a company or not join a company if the PagerDuty schedules are not fair, balanced, and efficient. In other words, you have a high benchmark, and PagerDuty's made software to take all of the alerts from all of your servers and put them into one location and then manage who's in charge of which pieces of your stack and who should be alerted and who shouldn't be. Why is this important? Because you have dozens and dozens of reporting pieces of software. You have dozens or dozens, a dozen or dozens of developers and technical people. They can't all be woken up at 1 a.m. when there's a false positive or a fake alert that you don't need, but sometimes they do need to be woken up. You need to manage all this, and PagerDuty makes a software that does that. Atlassian, which makes HipChat, uses it. Pinterest uses it. New Relic uses Airbnb, Panasonic, Slack, Path. Everybody uses it. It's brutal to be on call, so you need to have a monitoring system.
and a system that makes it easy to do. And actually, Justin over at Chartbeat, which was one of my first angel investments, says this: PagerDuty gives Chartbeat one central place to send critical alerts. We now have a simple, easy process for on-call scheduling. You can sign up for a 14-day trial at pagerduty.com/twist and get a free t-shirt with your first alert. So go to pagerduty.com/twist and get a free t-shirt with your alert, pagerduty.com/twist. And you can thank at PagerDuty on your Twitter handle. It's great software. It's a great system. It's easy to use, and literally it'll make your team happier. And that's really what matters is, you can't have developers quitting your company or not joining because you don't have a really good solution for this really, it's kind of like a persnickety, problem. And it could cause problems in your company. So anyway, get PagerDuty. It's awesome. All right, let's get back to this amazing episode.
Let me ask you about gender then. Does gender matter?
Most people want a female coach.
Including men?
Including boys, yeah.
Including boys?
Yeah.
Now, these are 12-year-old boys or 14-year-old boys.
So the 12 and 14-year-old boys, actually, they like the boy coaches. So we have some great boy coaches.
That's
the younger boys seem to, I don't know, it goes, but not all the younger boys are choosing girls. But I can tell you the girls only want the girl coach.
Interesting. So that's interesting. And I wonder if there is efficacy in giving them what they want or not what they want. In other words, does a female coach make a young boy go do better or worse? Would a male coach be better? I mean, you'll find out, I guess.
Yeah. One thing is that if we can get the dad to join the coaching sessions, we actually have great success. So we've learned that the dads are really important to this. A lot of times it's the moms searching for it and the moms are signing their kids up. If we can get the dad to track their food and we can get the dad to pay attention, we've actually seen that's when the highest weight loss is happening.
Yeah, see, I think this is a matter of attention and bandwidth. Like if the parent spends a lot of time with the child and they know the tools and they have the proper knowledge, it's gonna happen, right?
That's right.
I mean, it can't not happen.
Yeah, no, it does. That's right.
Society is just so stacked against parents, though, isn't it? Like in terms of the food options and stuff like that.
It's terrible. Our kids are getting tortured. I mean, truly, go to a soccer game. Your child is 5?
Yeah.
Okay, they play soccer for a half hour. Afterwards, they're given Coke and Gatorade and cookies and pretzels.
So 50 grams of sugar.
That's right. After 30 minutes of soccer, you can never exercise
so
that off.
So they burned 8 grams of sugar and they were given 50.
Yeah.
Net 42. They're going to be bouncing off the walls and gaining weight.
That's right.
From doing it. Whereas if they just drank water and had some hummus or something, they'd be fine.
That's the other fallacy with my Google searching. Parents, instead of saying weight loss, they say exercise, which for them is actually a code name for weight loss.
Ah.
And the research shows pretty unequivocally that 90% of weight loss is the food. It's not the exercise.
Right.
And so parents think, I just need to get my child to exercise more, and then they'll lose weight. But it comes down to the food, not to the exercise.
You can lose weight doing 0 exercise and just modifying your diet. Mm-hmm. You cannot do the opposite.
That's right.
I mean, that's just been proven over and over again. But when you look at these poor parents, like you go to a restaurant and then they give you a kid's menu.
Right. And it's all fried.
And it's fried and sugar and bread. And you're like, okay, I'm giving this to my child, my most precious.
Right.
The thing that's most precious to me on the planet. You just gave me a menu for them of the worst things that you could feed a child.
Yeah.
Thank you. 4 Seasons Hotel, Ritz-Carlton, wherever you're staying.
French fries
and chicken fingers is like the staple.
That's right.
And then I had this incredible realization of like just how stacked it is. And I have a very complex feeling with this. My dad's overweight. I was overweight. And maybe I have a little bit of self-loathing in it or whatever. But these waiters would come to the table when we were on vacation. And they would bring all the kids smoothies, which were milkshakes, without asking the parents. So now imagine you're a parent, you're sitting there. And
I've been that parent.
You've been there when they drop the 4 smoothies at once, and you're like, no smoothies. And now I'm the bad guy. The smoothie's got to be removed from the table. The kids are now crying.
Yeah.
They're upset at me. I'm the worst dad on the planet, or mom. And now mom's like feeling guilty about taking them away. And the kids know exactly how to manipulate it. It's 30 grams of sugar. And then I bought kefir the other day, and my wife bought kefir, and I didn't want to make her feel bad, but I was like, this kefir that you bought from Whole Foods, how many grams of sugar in this? She's like, I don't know, like 5 or 10. I was like, 20.
Right.
18 or 20. I was like, that's the same as Coca-Cola. She's like, no, Coca-Cola is like 28 grams. I was like, okay, that's 12 ounces. This is 8 ounces, so it's exactly Coca-Cola.
That's right.
Like literally kefir was the same sugar.
So, okay, orange juice, Odwalla. We had a girl lose weight on our program just by cutting out the Odwallas. She was having 5 Odwallas a day.
Those are
thinking
400
she was
calories
being helpful. Yeah, they have more calories than Coke.
They're 300 or 400 calories.
Mm-hmm. So they don't know that. This is a lot of the education you learn in our program. We have games and stuff to teach you these things.
Yeah.
You need to know that Odwalla is...
And no offense to the Odwalla people.
Right.
Like, I like one of those things. It's pretty tasty. But that's like going to Froyo.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you
like
melted
ice cream.
If you melted the ice cream and you put it in a fancy bottle, that's what it is.
Right.
It's got a couple more vitamins, but the same amount of sugar.
So people need to learn that stuff, right? And you don't naturally know it. It's not going to be, without the education, you're just not going to know.
What's your background? I mean, other than, having this rough time with your kid and then solving it. Awesome.
Actually, this is my first company.
First company, first time entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Congrats.
My background is actually in investing. I spent most of my life as an investor.
I see that. Wow. Venture Law Group, Symphony, Pacific. Wow. So you were a VC.
I was a VC, yes.
Wow. And you were a venture capitalist in the 90s.
I was.
So now, wait a second. I thought that women weren't allowed to be VCs in the 90s.
I did BabyCenter.
You did BabyCenter?
I did.
Wow.
And eToys. Remember that
Oh, wow.
one?
I remember eToys with Bill Gross.
Yeah. So I did it right after him.
Oh, wow.
And I did Blue Nile. I was on the board of Blue Nile for a long time.
I bought my wife's diamond.
Did you?
For our engagement on Blue Nile.
Yeah.
That was a pretty crazy experience doing. Blue Nile's done tremendous. You hit a home run on that.
Yeah.
eToys, you hit a home run and they took it away from you.
Right.
So that was like, that must have been heartbreaking. Huh?
Yes, it was heartbreaking.
I mean, what a cool
And
company.
BabyCenter got sold. Toby Link
was
right.
the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. And that, if I remember correctly, I think Bill Gross doubled down on that and he put like $250 million into it or whatever. And then,
Really? I don't remember that part.
Anyway, it was just.
So I'll tell you a funny story. My first investment that I made as a venture capitalist was in a company called Flycast.
Yeah.
And that was Rick Thompson.
I remember this.
So Rick tells a story now that he was basically out of money. And I called him, and I'm like, this random venture capitalist in Silicon Valley saying, oh, can I talk to you about your company? And, now, of course, he's one of the most successful guys out there. He started 5 companies after that.
Right.
And so when I wanted to get my company funded this time, I went to him.
And you're like, hey, remember when I funded your first company? I want to tell you about something I'm passionate
led
about.
my round.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. So let me ask you a serious question. I mean, obviously, I'm joking about women in the 90s, but I just had Esther Dyson on the program.
She's an investor.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. So Esther, yourself, and Wimblad, and very few other women in venture capital. It was an old boys club then. Mm-hmm. It must
still
have been.
Is.
It still is. It was hard to be a woman in venture capital, was it not?
It was.
How was it hard?
Well,
You had to be politically correct here, or allowed to be like delicate?
correct.
Be delicate. I know there's like relationships, but was it misogynistic? Like guys hitting on you constantly, and like hard for you to do your job like that, and people not taking you seriously?
No, the people not taking you seriously. It was not it wasn't guys constantly hitting on you. It was just there was clearly a boys' network that really did help each other that we were not part of.
Interesting.
And so there very much became a support network for these guys who were doing venture investing. And they were very helpful and supportive of each other. And they didn't include the other young women in it. And if you look at the other women who were associates or partners at the time I was, pretty much none of them are in the venture funds anymore.
It was too hard.
Yeah.
It was too hard. They drove them out probably. Like at a certain point, you probably would give up, right? Like if I can't get the good deals and people don't want me here, like why would you stick around where people are trying to push you up? But now it's changing. Feels like it's changing to you?
Think so?
I don't know. I'm asking.
I don't know if it's changing. It's a good question.
It is a
If you look at the top 10, 15 venture funds, you can tell me how many women are in them.
It doesn't seem like that many.
Just about none, as far as I know. Maybe a few.
It's a handful. Kleiner's got a number of women, and they also had a women's,
They used to have
Yeah, they used to have a bunch of women, and then a bunch of lawsuits that they're currently going through. But yeah, if you go down the top ones, still a lot of like 6 guys in a fund, 8 guys in a fund.
That's right.
A lot of angel investors, and a lot of female founders now. So that's got to be trending in the right way.
Yeah, I think things are.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I take the most. I feel super hopeful about is when I look at deals today. Like I'm looking at your deal, and I'm like, oh my God. This is such a no-brainer. It's going to print money. Like if you can dial this in and figure out the acquisition cost, it's going to do so much good in the world and it's going to make so much money. Do you think Well, what do you think of female founders today? Do you think they are? Let me ask you what you think of sort of female founders and venture funding, angel funding. Like,
so I have been blown away by how great the female founders are at Rock Health.
Yeah,
I mean, I have met the most extraordinary women that I have really encountered in my career that are founders of Rock Health companies.
Yeah,
I've been just blown away. They're great, and they are getting funding, and they're working their ass off, and it's really working for them. So I think in certain areas like digital health, women are being more successful. And Hallie, to her credit, has done a lot of good for encouraging those women.
Yeah, she's the founder of Rock Health, or co-founder. I will say, I've invested in a lot of companies, and the last couple of dozen, a lot of female founders, I find a level of seriousness and diligence in the female founders that I wish I saw in the sort of bottom half of my male founders, which is to say they're so focused on the business that they don't have time for the nonsense and the sort of speaking gigs and the just superfluous stuff to running a business. They just seem twice as focused and detail-oriented. Do you attribute that to something, do you think? Is it self-selection, the women who do try to do something this hard? Or
So, I mean, I have 3 kids at home, right? Yeah. The last thing I'm going to do is go to a speaking engagement that's a waste of my time.
Yeah.
Right? Your time becomes very precious.
Right.
So you really do learn to focus where the most bang for the buck is and where you are most effective. Mm. And you probably are just willing to spend less time doing things that are not valuable to the company.
Right. Yeah, I am just really, really exceptionally impressed by the female founders I'm seeing. Like, I almost feel like I get a sense from them that they expect that they're not going to be taken as seriously and they're not going to be given as much credit. Therefore, they're going to have to work twice as hard. It's almost like, a woman joining the Navy SEALs or the fire department these days, where they're like, it's going to be a hard road to keep up and you're going to have to just go twice as hard. But then they wind up excelling past a lot of the male founders I'm seeing now.
I think, part of it is you feel very grateful to be given the chance, right?
Yeah.
And so when you have that chance, you certainly want to not mess it up.
That's interesting. It's almost sad. Like, the guys take it for granted that they'll just keep getting funded and keep getting swings of the bat. And the women are like, if I fail once, I'm done.
I think there's a little bit of that. It definitely drives you, that you feel like, wow, there's not that many of us. I better make sure that this really works.
Yeah. Such complicated issues we're talking about. Wow. It's like obesity and venture capital. I just came into this thinking like we're going to see like okay, it's going to be an interesting little app. And it's like, wow, what a deep conversation, Joanna. Thank you for sharing it. And people can start trying this now, right?
Yeah, we're up and running. And we're actually also working with some health plans that are doing pilots. So we think that there's a likelihood that we can get eventually insurance coverage for it. And we're also, Kaiser is recommending it. So we have a lot of people who are working with us to get it out there.
It's like a no-brainer that if you have to deal with a child with diabetes for the next 70 years.
Right. Why not do something now, right?
For $75 a month, you could perhaps cure or not have to deal with diabetes for 50, 60, 70 years.
That's right. I mean, we're actually showing that we're reducing diabetes risk. The numbers are pretty powerful about how much weight loss is happening and how we are changing the health outcomes of the kids on the program.
Yeah, I think that this, keeping it small and making sure this cohort actually gets it done, if you can dial that in and the efficacy is there, the costs, parents will pay any amount. The insurance will pay any amount. What would a weight loss drug cost, or a diabetes drug cost?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess more than $75 a month.
Right. So what's amazing right now is that insurance covers bariatric surgery, but they don't cover the coaching.
What is bariatric surgery? Is that when they staple
your stomach? And they do it for kids now. So
kids
are
getting their stomachs
rapidly growing.
No.
Yes, rapidly growing bariatric surgery for kids.
Wait a second.
Our goal is crazy, right?
A child.
Yeah. But because it's so dangerous for them to be overweight, if they don't do it, they will die. It is not, it's not just about looks. It's not. I talked earlier about discrimination. Yeah. It is also about the fundamental health risks for these kids. So we want to be that thing when you just get overweight. Before you become obese, try Kurbo. See if you can help your child before you get to that point where you need surgery.
I think you have the most important startup here. Honestly, I think 23andMe is great. I just had Ammo Jackie on the program. Tremendous, big vision. But just talking about today and people's health,
right.
23andMe is going to figure a lot of stuff out. We have to figure this out now.
That's right.
If kids are having their stomach stapled at
Right.
ages of 12, or
They're seeing fatty liver disease. We have a trial going on right now in Texas for fatty liver disease. That did not used to happen until people were 70. Now
Fatty liver
we have a
disease.
trial going on for kids between 10 and 13. So we're trying Kurbo with them to see whether we can get them to be healthier.
okay, what about these morbidly obese folks? Because I once in a while be flipping through the channels like on Virgin or JetBlue, and I saw this people who are 400 or 500, 600 pounds. Are you addressing any of that, and where does that fall on the spectrum? Is that like becoming a more frequent thing like this?
Yeah, so our goal is really
there's 20
at
pounds, but
some
then there's
point-
100, yeah.
Right. At some point, they might need more intensive than we can give them. And so one thing we do is we work with therapists and we refer people out to therapists if they need more counseling than we're able to give them.
Yeah.
So, our goal is we want to get you before then. I can certainly help you if you're there. But
What level is where this kid's got to go to a doctor and go to therapy and move out of the house? It's like 100
yeah,
pounds or something.
No, but at some point we can tell from our conversations with the coaches if it looks like they need to be referred to someone else, and then we do that.
That was the thing I couldn't believe. This one doctor, I remember it was like yesterday, the episode. This woman was not losing weight. She doesn't do her own shopping. She can't get out of bed. And the doctor's like, you're on a calorie-restricted diet. You're on these drugs. You're going for the lap band surgery. This is like week 4 if you're not losing weight. And he has the whole family. You're all lying to me.
Right.
And then finally the mother breaks down. Yeah, I gave her chicken parmesan. I gave her pizza. I gave her peanut butter and jelly. And,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, the person is 600 pounds or 500 pounds and they're 15, 16 years old and they're going for lap band surgery and you're still
Right.
feeding them. It's just like,
So I want to get them at age 10, right? I want to get them. I have kids who are 7, 8, 9, 10. If I can change your eating habits, then I can avoid that, right? And so, because at some point it becomes much, much harder to change who you are,
yeah.
right? But if we can make those changes early, what's so sad to me is that no one has ever offered anything until you become an overweight adult. So let's try something really early in the process to get them to change their behavior so that doesn't happen.
They need to give the BMI score on the report card. I know this sounds like a crazy proposal, but
No, but here's the problem with that. Let me just tell you what happened. They used to do that. In 17 states, they send letters to the parents. They call them fat letters. And they send letters to the parents saying your child is overweight.
thank you.
Right?
It's incredible.
Okay, but they gave you no tools. What do you do when you're a parent and you get that letter?
I see.
It's very painful. You get that letter. They tell you your child is overweight. You have a problem. But what do you do next?
Yeah, they've got to give you some
And they have to give you,
prescription
that's right. And they don't do that. So, our goal is that eventually they would say, okay, try this.
Here, here's a couple of websites you can go to. Here's some stuff to read.
Right. There's something
Here's
you can do.
Watch this video.
Because those parents know their child is overweight. It's not like it's a surprise. When you get that note that says your child's BMI is dangerously high, it's not like the parent doesn't know. But they don't know what to do.
Yeah, see, I think that when there's a very delicate balance between and I think this is the role of the coach. It's the perfect balance of it between society giving you this feedback of hey, this is not normal. This is not the normal state of human existence.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be cruel at the edges. It can be horrible in terms of your paycheck, and it can be rude or whatever. Maybe I seem a little rude about it, but then there's a coach who just becomes that buffer, that safe buffer of we're going to get through this. And what those people out there are saying to you, there's some validity to it, but I'm going to help you get there.
If you listen to the calls, sometimes it would make you cry.
I could imagine.
You have these 8-year-old or 10-year-old boys. Well, the kids are teasing me at school, and I don't want to go to PE because they're teasing me.
Yeah, nobody wants to be the fat kid in school.
That's right.
God,
and
it's
so
the
you
worst
listen to
experience
these
ever.
coaching calls, and it's so painful to listen
Yeah.
or to say, but, oh, this is the worst. It's so hard for me not to drink the Coke, but it's in the house, and it's all over the place, and it's so hard for me not to drink it.
It's unbelievable.
Right? So we then become that intermediary we call the parents. Say, please take it out. But
Yeah.
it's
Why
really
is there Coca-Cola
it's
in the
really
house?
painful, these conversations.
Oh, God. Listen, Joanna Strober,
Yes.
I'm the only thing I'm really upset about after this whole conversation is I didn't meet you sooner so I could have participated in this angel round. I think this is going to be a tremendous company.
Thank you.
Congratulations on raising money. And I see, Bessemer and Cigna and Rock Health and Susan Wojcicki
And sister.
who's
That's
running
right.
YouTube, another Googler out there, have all invested in the products in market.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody can go try it at Kurbo.com. And how was Rock Health as a program? Now, you're a seasoned venture capitalist. You know you can teach here. You can be a mentor. You chose to be mentored, I take it, in Rock Health. Tell us about Rock Health.
They are amazing.
Yeah, amazing how?
Hallie and Malay are two of the smartest people, and they're also incredibly good to work with. So I am really, really grateful to their program. Yeah. First of all, I did not know a lot about healthcare. So having people who knew the relationships, I have a number of relationships that were developed because of Rock Health introductions that have changed our company. And we also, I call Malay and say, I don't understand how pricing works in the healthcare world, or I don't understand, how these guys work. And he does a great job at giving advice. And then the other thing is that the network of companies is very powerful. And the companies are really good at helping each other. So there's been a lot of really good interaction between the other companies and being supportive of each other and helping each other. And that's been really good.
The alumni is critical, right? Like, all work together as peers to, you're collaborating and you can help each other. It's not necessarily a competition.
That's right.
There's not 20 weight loss. I mean, I'm an investor in Better Health, which is doing something very similar, which is a PHA, personal health assistant, not really for dieting, but more for managing all the other aspects of your health. This is the future. Is just like, having somebody on your phone who will talk to you about your health. Right. Like anytime. Can they talk to them anytime?
They have one phone, it's one phone call and as many texts as they want.
That's awesome. All right, listen, a continued success. And everybody, please go try Kurbo.com. If you know anybody with a child who's obese, I'm going to stop trying to say fat, but
overweight. Don't use. No one's kid is obese. Just to be clear, no one is obese.
What's the word that you should use? That
so we just say overweight because if you ask people whose children are extremely overweight, they're still not obese.
They're not obese.
No one wants to be obese.
So there's like fat people are super offended, obese moderately offended, overweight not offended.
Okay.
That's okay.
We seem okay with the overweight. The obese thing, people, if we think we're even talking about fighting childhood obesity, that's great, except for the parents. No one's child is obese. Like
not my child. No,
there's no one's child is actually.
My child
obese.
doesn't have a learning disability. It's like there's 8,000 learning disabilities. If your child doesn't have 4, something's wrong. Like
no, that's right.
There's no successful person who didn't have a learning disability. I'm convinced at this point. Like every successful person I met, like today would have been
ADD or something.
ADD, spectrum, Asperger's, autistic. Like it's like. Anyway, I think because you were a venture capitalist for 20 years. You spent time in some of these board meetings with these people.
That's
Names
exactly
will be
right.
redacted. All right. Wonderful to meet you. And like I said, everybody go to Kurbo.com, tweet it, tell everybody to go use it, and it's Kurbo Health on Twitter. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Calacanis, and we're here at the Rock Health Summit. I've been interviewing a couple of people here, John Doerr and Ann Wojcicki of 23andMe. And while we're here, there's a lot of other startups working on interesting things in the healthcare space. And I'm going to meet with a couple of them and take a look at their products. Munjal Shah, I got that right?
Shah, yeah.
Shah. Munjal Shah, I got that right. Okay. Now, you have an app called Health Equity Labs.
It's called HealthIQ.
Oh, HealthIQ is the name of it, and Health Equity Labs is the name of the company.
We actually changed it's HiQ, but...
Now just HiQ. Okay.
Yeah,
but HealthIQ, the app, does what? What is it?
So we... are trying to measure not how healthy somebody is, but rather how health conscious they are.
Okay, what's the difference?
So health conscious is just knowing, it's really a measure of your health literacy. Do you know that gin and tonic actually has 20 grams of sugar in it from the tonic water? That's a level of health literacy. Or do you know the best natural remedies to manage arthritis? Or do you know about cyberbullying and the best things to do for your child in managing their mental health? So really, we believe that one of the keys to being successful in this quantified self movement, everybody's trying to measure heart rate and steps and all this. And one of the things we realized was there's actually a step that comes before all that, which is, knowing isn't doing, but you can't do what you don't know. And so
knowing isn't doing, and you can't do what you don't know.
But you can't do what you don't know. So like the first step to increasing your overall health is actually increasing your health literacy.
Okay, so show me how this works.
And so what we did is we built an app where we actually built 10,000 questions in 300 topics, and we calibrated them with 500,000 people. Because what we were trying to figure out from a big data standpoint is not all health facts are equally important, right? So knowing some things actually might impact your health more than knowing others. So we found out of these the questions that were most predictive And so we test you on them. And what we found when we did it, so you can come in here and you can take topics, today's topic of the day, or medications that are habit forming, or you could take one on portion control, or on dental health, nutrition, or food safety, cooking at home. And we literally have 300 of these things.
Where did you come up with the questions?
So we actually...
You scrape Yahoo Answers?
No,
we have a lot of misspellings.
We actually spent $1 million plus actually writing these 10,000 questions. And
Who?
we had...
College graduates, doctors, researchers?
We actually had researchers who we hired write them, but we had them all certified. So, for example, the head of cardiology at Beth Israel, who's a professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School, certified our cardiology questions. The head orthopedic surgeon for the U.S. Olympic team certified our sports injury questions. A woman who actually presented a white paper on childhood bullying is a famous psychologist in the area. She presented that paper at the White House, certified our childhood bullying questions. So we went and got experts in every single area.
And I suppose how you form the question, how you ask the question is important as well.
Yeah, so what we found when we did this was if you're going to test somebody's health IQ, the key thing that matters is giving them a test that tests their skills and their deep knowledge, not their shallow knowledge.
Okay.
For example, asking you if dark chocolate's better than milk chocolate tells me nothing. Okay?
Because obviously...
Everybody knows it's been blasted through the media.
Right.
Asking you to self-assess. How many times a week do you drink? Tells me
Right.
nothing. You're going to lie just like everybody else lies on that question.
Got it.
But asking you a deep question like if you weightlift, we can say, all right, an Olympic barbell unweighted is how many pounds? It's timed, it's in an app, you can't look it up, you don't get the same question twice.
Right.
Either you know it or you don't. And if
What is
you
that,
know
like
it,
5 pounds, 8 pounds?
45 pounds.
An Olympic one.
The
Wow.
big barbell that you see across, that's
45 pounds, okay. Who
So,
knew?
or we'll say when you do Bikram Yoga, is it good etiquette to drink water in the first 30 minutes? If you've done Bikram Yoga, you know.
No, he'll yell at you.
Right, exactly.
I've been with him.
You're like,
He's horrible, by the way.
it's like-
I mean, it's really cool stuff that he developed, but he was like hitting on all the women in the class when I did the class
Right.
in LA. I was so heartbroken because I'd done Bikram Yoga in New York and had a great experience. It was not your uncle or anything, right?
Yeah.
You don't know him. He's not
No,
a personal
I don't know.
friend.
I don't know.
Okay. And then like I'm in the class in LA and he starts hitting on multiple girls in the class and I'm with my wife, or was then fiance, and he's like, I'm like, if this guy starts hitting on my wife, I'm gonna have to get up and punch him in the face. Like,
So
he's
that's
like literally. So that's not a question in here. I take it.
right. So no. Not
At what point will Bikram start hitting on your fiance? No, that doesn't happen.
Actually, would be it's a good example though of an implementation question, meaning you only know it if you've done it, right?
Yeah, I would say
that
that's-
place you have to be in that class with that
Yeah.
specific guy. But like for example, we're like, hey, when you bake with Splenda, what's the problem? The dough doesn't rise. Like you only know that if you've actually done it. So
Got it.
We found these questions were actually predictive in not only assessing kind of your health knowledge, but actually assessing your actions because you kind of only know it if you did it.
Right.
And what we showed was your health IQ actually predicts, so it correlates, I should say, to be accurate, with a 50% reduction in hospitalizations over the last year, even after you control for age, gender, income.
All right. So it correlates. It doesn't mean it causes, because
It
it
doesn't.
could be that people who are healthy
Happen to know these
also
things.
like to
Absolutely,
read
yes.
this stuff or whatever because they're they have a predisposition
Position.
towards healthiness.
But we do believe that in general, look, what we did is invented the first way in the world to measure your health literacy. So we've spent 100 years as a civilization working on literacy. I think the next 100 years should be about health literacy. It's actually the next kind of level of our own Maslow's hierarchy of taking care of our quality of life. And the first step is you can't improve somebody's health literacy unless you can measure it.
All right. So show me here. Let me take a quiz.
Yeah, so here, we'll take a quiz on this.
Yeah.
And you can,
Give me a quiz here. And so,
we could take one
All right.
on, you know about probiotics? What do you know about? Kidney health, cooking, lactose intolerant, strength training, leg day. You know,
no, I'm not going to know that.
Gluten.
Yeah, give me gluten, because I think that's a whole like controversial subject. I'm interested in this one.
So first of all, this is
All right, so
certified
it's sort
by
of like-
Tamara, who's a Dr. Freeman, who's actually a dietitian, who did her master's in clinical nutrition at New York University. She completed med science. She writes for U.S. News.
So you pay these folks to do this? They're
They
paid.
certify the questions.
Yeah.
Right? And then you can go into the quiz, and I've actually started this, so it's a little harder. Normally they start very easy. This
Yeah.
disorder is a result of an autoimmune reaction to gluten intolerance, colic disease, celiac disease.
Celiac disease, of course.
Nice and easy. So they start out, got some points.
I don't know if that was easy, but okay.
Celiac disease and autoimmune. So it gives you a little explanation.
Yes.
So we do what we call active learning. So even while you're quizzing, you're kind of getting an answer and you're getting an answer. And most people, if you read the reviews on the iTunes store, say this is a great learning app, even though honestly it's not. It's an assessment app.
Right, but this little correct, it gave a little feedback to like reinforce the knowledge. So here it says patients with untreated celiac disease may also develop blank intolerance.
Cellulose, maltose, lactose, fructose.
All right, well, so we know it's not going to be cellulose. And so, but lactose, maltose. See, I'm going to go with fructose. I'm going to go with fructose.
You can go with fructose.
Only because
I think it was lactose.
It was lactose?
So
okay.
this is really interesting.
I knew it was going to be one of the two, but I did process of elimination.
So now this may be something that you don't know.
Lactose
right? You may
intolerance can be a symptom of untreated celiac disease due to damage of the small intestine. Got it.
So now this is interesting. You may have cut out wheat from your diet thinking you're celiac, but not realize that you also should be looking at lactose, and you haven't kind of even explored that. Now because of this question, you kind of learned.
Yeah, and the path, like your lactose intolerance is coming because
symptoms of celiac disease result from inflammation of the intestines. This inflammation damages the intestinal villi, enzymes, micelles, cysts.
Oh, now see, now we're getting a little bit.
This one got harder.
Well, we know it's not enzymes, and it's not cysts because those are gross. It's going to be one of the two. I've never heard of villi, and I've never heard of micelles. I'm going to go with micelles. It's villi. Okay. So my process of elimination for questions is, you have to admit, it's pretty good.
58% got that right. It describes what it is. A hair-like protrusion of the intestinal wall, aid in absorption of nutrients, and celiacs that are damaged due to inflammation. So you just learn something about it.
Yeah.
You go through this thing, and you finish, and you
it's
get
a little bit addictive, yeah.
And you get a percentile at the end. What we've seen is, about a third of our users in the first 14 days spend 170 minutes taking 500 questions. So really this app, it seems to appeal to what I call the chief health officer of the family, which is usually a she.
Yeah.
And she wants to know what she knows because she's taking care of her
mom.
And she gets a report like this, by the way.
But it could be the stay-at-home dad.
It can be. It's about, so it gives you the topics you scored in the top 90th percentile on. They're what we call your elite topics. It shows you your balance between nutritional, medical, and exercise. Because you can't know a ton about nutrition and nothing about medical and nothing about exercise. We've actually mapped every question to a body part. So you say, hey, Munjal, your knowledge of digestive health is better than your knowledge of reproductive health.
Hey, man, have you put some doctors through this?
A ton. I mean, they're the ones who certified every single question.
No, I know, but have you put a doctor through it and like...
So that's the interesting thing.
I would like to see a doctor who treats celiac disease go through this, and I would like to see if my knowledge... how my celiac disease knowledge compares to somebody who is either a general practitioner or a nurse practitioner, and see
let me tell you one insight we found. We found actually that between nutrition, medical, and exercise knowledge, that medical knowledge had the least correlation to keeping you out of the hospital on our correlation tables. And so it's like, hey, knowing insulin's made in the pancreas does not help you manage your diabetes anymore.
Right.
But knowing actually at Chipotle, which darn tortilla should you order that has the lowest amount of carbs in it and hence insulin spike actually does. So actually the questions that we loaded this app with are a lot of practical. Like in celiac, one of the questions is, how do you eat gluten-free at Wendy's? Or fast food restaurants, I think in general is the topic.
Yeah, that's super easy. I could answer that. You got to just do grilled chicken with no bun.
Right, but
protein
it turns out actually there's a bunch of tricky stuff there. Because they if you're really sensitive, they will grill that in the same oil that they fried this other stuff, and you will get a little bit of it in there. And so a doctor who may know everything about celiac won't know anything about what to order at Wendy's.
Yeah, they're not covering that.
So we've actually found this practitioner knowledge actually is the most predictive of really keeping you healthy.
Or how does this all make money? Because it seems like all well and good, but there was Quiz Up, which became quite a phenomenon for a month or two, and then I haven't heard about it since.
Right. Although lately the number one on the app stores is Trivia Crack, which is basically Quiz Up.
Another version of Quiz Up, right? So we know that these things are sticky.
Yeah.
But how do you make money? Because putting ads in would seem kind of cheesy, and people aren't going to pay for it. So who's paying for this? How does it make money? Or you figure it out later?
I don't know yet.
Oh, that's an honest answer.
Yeah, I don't know.
There you have it, folks. We built an incredible app that is incredibly sticky, 170 questions, 5 hours, but we don't know how to make money from it yet.
Yeah.
But we are. I think you seem like a smart guy. I think you have an idea of how you might. So what are the possible ideas?
Well, I mean, as I was saying, I started this company because, the day after I sold my last company, and we sold it to Google, it was 2010. I was running a 10K race. I ended up with chest pains. I ended up in the ER. Huh. I was 37. My father had his first heart attack in his mid-40s. I wasn't 40 yet, but
close enough.
And it didn't end up being a heart attack, but they never fully figured it out. And I kind of just realized that, I had to change my own health. So I lost 40 pounds in that process, but I realized that it wasn't counting my steps. It wasn't counting, my heart rate. It was really knowledge of mostly nutrition.
Yeah.
That honestly helped me kind of
You
change
cut out
my
the bread and the
health.
pasta
I
and the
cut
sugar.
out had some of that, and I just realized that things like tonic water had, gin and tonic had it. Like, I don't know how I didn't know that, but I guess I never made it at home. I only ordered it at a bar.
Right.
I never read the label. And so there was a bunch of just general knowledge. And so I started out with this idea of, hey, let's first create this new way of assessing everybody's health literacy, because this is the first beginning of that step. Now, in this process, what we're aggregating is actually all of the health literate people. That's who's using this app. That's who comes back to it. That's who takes the daily topic. How one makes money.
So in a way,
from
you're
that
preaching
audience.
to the choir.
Well, we found two groups. In fact, I think all of the health apps that you're talking to today here, when I look at a lot of the companies, I think a lot of them are on a fool's errand, in my opinion.
Okay, explain.
And the fool's errand they're on is they're trying to get the people who don't care about their health to care. Okay, they're all like, we're doing behavior change. It's really hard. I'm working hard on it. This is the key that we got to do to save American healthcare all this money, because the bottom 5% spend 50% of healthcare dollars.
Right.
And I'm like, you're right. Except let's not think of the market as just those who don't care and those who do care. Let's think of the market as those who don't care, those who newly care but don't have all the skills. So the diabetic who's like, oh, I know not to eat dessert, but hey, look at this great healthy 16 ounces of orange juice I drink every morning.
Yeah.
And if you know anything, you're like, oh my God, there's 20 grams of sugar or something in every orange, and it takes 5 oranges to make 1 glass of orange juice, and holy cow, how much sugar did you just have?
Yeah.
But he doesn't know that. He thinks juicing is healthy.
Yeah.
And then the last group, which is the highly conscious. And I believe actually the best ROI for all of our healthcare focus and spend is not on the first group, but really on that second group. The ones who've raised their hand and said, I want help, I care now.
Right.
But don't have all the skills. I'm like, let's accelerate those people. We will get more persistent change by going out, kind of impact on our total health care dollars in the entire country by focusing on them than the other group.
So what about revenue then? Are you going to have the insurance companies do this, or?
I don't know.
You must have some idea. You can't start a company, raise $5 million with no idea how you're going to make money. You're being coy. You don't want to tell me
No.
on
I mean,
air,
you kind of can when you've done one before.
Oh, okay.
but it doesn't mean you don't have to have an answer eventually.
Yeah.
But I think that I know I'm already aggregating a very economically valuable group. How we get, right, they do. There's $10 billion in gluten-free sales a year. There's $100 billion in natural food sales a year. Like, these aren't
So you think
small
advertising
market.
might be a good
That's
piece.
one angle, but I'm actually still exploring, because I think there might be an even, something better than that. Because that still feels not the right answer to me, but I don't know what the right answer is. All I know is, have I aggregated a group of people who have economic value because they care and they've learned the skills and they're just more literate in health? And
you think
I
this
don't
is something
know.
insurance companies might want to give to patients so they don't wind up? So you could sell it to
we looked
Aetna,
at some of that.
Blue Cross or whatever, and say, hey,
There's actually some big insurance companies we are
White
working
label
with right now. They have something called an HRA that they hand to you when you first join or when you first see a doctor. You've taken it. It says how many times a week do you drink and how many times a week
what
do you
does an
exercise.
HRA stand for?
Health risk assessment.
Okay.
And it's a standard form. The problem is nobody takes it. People hate answering it. When they do answer it, they lie on most of the
I just
questions.
went to the dentist and they had this thing, and I literally went like this. Zip, zip, zip.
Right.
I literally, it was like, I'm not filling this out for the 80th time.
Right.
I just want my teeth to be clean. You don't need to know I have asthma. Forget it.
Yeah.
Zoom, zoom, zoom. The woman's like, okay, you're all good. Good. Here we go.
So one angle was, hey, maybe we look at this as what we found is, hey, the average HRA people barely even answered 10 questions because, they're like, and when they do, they answer it wrong. We're like, we actually test you. Right?
See, I think
this
you're
is
going to
like
go
the
lead
SAT.
gen. I think it's lead gen. So, like Thumbtack, when you go through all these questions, you're qualifying leads. So if somebody is like a, diabetic or a celiac and they're going through these things, like at the end, hey, here's a doctor, here's, a treatment, here's more education from this diabetic drug or this diabetic, a reader for diabetics or something, a new kit. You could really have incredible leads you could sell for $40 to a drug company.
There's some of that, but again, what I'm trying to figure out is, I know these people have a core, this is the diabetic who really manages his disease well. That's who we found, right? We found the one that really doesn't end up in the hospital because they don't overshoot their blood sugar because, they know about the orange juice, or they can estimate. Actually, one of our questions is we show you a picture of a plate of rice and we're like, how many cups of rice is in this picture? And
that's
so
a good one, actually.
because portion estimation is a key to portion control, and portion control is one of the keys. And actually, if you talk to one of our advisors, is Martin Abrahamson, who's the chief medical officer at the Joslin Center for Diabetes at Harvard, and he basically was like, 2 places diabetics go most wrong: pizza, Chinese food. I'm like, why Chinese food? He's like, that keeps spinning around and you keep taking one more thing of rice every time it spins around. And he's like, so that's where the diabetics really got to kind of manage their disease well. So I'm not quite sure, but the first step was this. We also find there's a lot of caregivers who use the app. You know, it's like, I have an older parent who has Alzheimer's, so I'm going to take the app so I can really understand that. I have a young child who has asthma, so I'm going to make sure I can take care of him better. So
now let me ask you something about your past.
Things.
You owned Like.com at one point in time, and you
did.
sold that to Google.
Right.
Now, when did you own Like.com? At what time period was this?
I bought Like before there was a like button.
Right.
Right. Because obviously after it would have been impossible.
Well, they had a trade. You would think they would have bought it, but that's like if that was actually a domain today, it would be a 7-figure domain.
Yeah.
What
we bought it for $100,000.
For $100,000 in when? 2002, 2003, 2004?
2004 or 5, somewhere in there. I think it was 5.
So Facebook was just like on 13 college campuses. They just opened up maybe.
Yeah. No like button, no nothing. Yeah. And actually the story was some guy had it. He wouldn't respond to any of our emails when we pinged him through the who is link that was there on the domain. And then we noticed he was in San Francisco. So me and one of my execs, we went to his house. We're like, we're just going to go there. And it was actually behind a gated fence. And then we're like, oh, crap. And then we said, you know what? Let's just hop the fence, leave him a bottle of wine and an article about the company and see what happens. So we literally hopped the fence, left it on his doorstep. Next day he calls me. He's like,
why did you jump the fence?
Well, no, it's like his parents lived there. He had not, he had moved away.
Did he even know he had the domain name?
Yeah, he knew. And he was like, wire me all cash. I'm like, you want some stock in the company? I think, we'll give you a little cash and stock because we don't want to spend $100,000. We're still a little startup.
He's like, no, leave $20.
He's like, no, I sold it once in 99 for stock, and I ended up getting the domain back because it turned out to nothing. Yeah. So he's like, I don't want any stock. Give me all cash. I'm done. And so we were like, okay. And we wired him the money, and he sent us the domain.
What was it? What was Like.com? Was it like a book marketing service?
He had parked it.
No, what about you?
Oh, so Like.com was a visual search engine. So we used machine learning to look inside photographs using color, shape, and pattern. You could say, I like that handbag.
Did you get in a big lawsuit with Facebook? Were they upset about it ever?
No.
Did they try to buy it from you?
They never came, actually.
That's fascinating.
We sold the company. Everybody was like, oh, Google bought it because they wanted the Like.com domain. It was like a joke. But no, Google bought us because they wanted the technology for product search.
And what are they doing with Like.com now at Google?
They sit on, actually, we had it in every major English-speaking country. So they bought a whole set of domains of like.com, like.co.uk.
Wow.
I think whatever the South Africa one is, like Australia. We owned them, Canada. Every English-speaking country we had the domain for.
Wow.
Even India, I think.
And they didn't ever use it.
They have it. There.
That's how I got inside. Sitting inside a company not being used.
Yeah.
And you just have to beg them to get it out.
I should have excluded that from the deal. Said I'll sell this separately or something.
Now, who did you raise? You raised $5 million from? Who invested in the company?
George Zachary at CRV.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I know George very well.
Yeah. So George was an investor in my very first company, which is a company called Andale, which we built in '99 and kind of a convoluted exit, but eventually sold to Alibaba in 2004. 2004, and then in 2005 I started which actually started originally as a different technology. So I pivoted It was a product called RIA, which you might remember, and we launched it in Michael Arrington's backyard in the first go-go days of Web 2.0.
I think I remember. What was RIA?
It was face recognition for organizing your personal photos. I realized we weren't going to make any money on that.
Yeah.
And then we pivoted it to be
Interesting.
And the revenues are grew and grew and grew, and we sold the business.
It's amazing. Well, listen, I think you've got a lead generation machine. I think you're being coy. I think you have a lead generation machine here. Those leads are like the Glengarry Glen Ross leads. If somebody is answered, I know this because I'm an investor in Thumbtack,
right?
And you and I were both investors of Swell,
right.
So I see a lot of the Swell, really nice design in here.
Yeah.
But also Thumbtack, and you're an advisor to TaskRabbit. Those marketplaces, boy, are those leads worth something, huh?
Yeah, I think that one of the things I just say is I think in general all of the successful health consumer apps, whether they admit it or not, are basically hitting the same audience of health conscious people.
Yeah.
That the people who are wearing Fitbits, whenever I see them, they're pretty health or some equivalent, right? They're pretty health conscious people. And it doesn't mean they look perfectly like they have six-pack abs, but they're health conscious in the grander scheme of things. And And so I think what we've done is just figured out a way to identify them, keep them learning. We give them a topic of the day every day. They keep growing. They keep educating themselves. And we've just figured out a way to do that.
There's some good widgets, too, on the web, too, if you put them on the web.
Yeah.
I could see, like, putting these little widgets everywhere. So you're going up against the 800-pound gorilla of WebMD. They have, like, 50 apps.
Yeah, but what happens there is...
Don't they have similar products or no?
Nobody's built a truly calibrated percentile that actually assesses you in the general population of your health knowledge.
It's really well done, I think, because it's interesting. Most people will create services, Q&A services, ask a question, get the answer. This is sort of like, yeah, that's not actually in your best interest to sit there and talk to people on Yahoo or even Quora, as good as Quora is. If you really want to know about celiac disease, why don't we just go through it, and your score will get better each time. You have a little game mechanics.
There's a bunch of that. And then the other thing I didn't show you in the app is we actually add a discussion board for every topic. Yeah. So on that one you were taking about celiac, there's a whole discussion board. And we did one thing.
Make a landing page for every question and every response.
Well, we haven't even done the SEO. We haven't even done that yet, which we will definitely look at.
Goodness.
Because that's a no-brainer. But the thing that we found is in our discussion boards right now, every time you post, we actually put the number of points that person who posted got in that quiz on that topic.
Yeah, so it's like they're like little ratings.
We have we have the only verified health discussion platform.
Yeah, right? I mean, people could game it a little bit, but
you could play, you could get another app and do it, but
to what end?
To what end? You're not getting anything out of it.
Not yet. But it's going to be very interesting to see if an insurance company or some other, like, it would be very cool if...
But actually, on the insurance point, though, sorry to interrupt you, but I would say that one of the things we believe is... if you're going to create a measure of your health literacy, it really needs to be independent of anything.
Because?
It's your assessment of yourself.
Right.
And it should be with a third party. It's like an independent third party auditor. You kind of want this independent. You can choose to share it if you click a button. I'm actually on the foundation board of El Camino Hospital. And so, I've seen a provider up close. It's $1 billion hospital down in Mountain View, but I am like, no, the hospital doesn't just get access to your HealthIQ. You can choose to click and say,
like
share with my doctor.
So it's sort of like the cloud score for health. But if you get these scores together and I apply for insurance, maybe I get a discount of $50 a month, $25 less a month. And that can be super meaningful. Now it's like, well, if I keep up with this, just like safe driving, if you get caught speeding, whatever they said, you go to driving school, or if you take extra driving school, you get more discounts on your insurance for your car. All right, listen, this is going to be a big success, I think, if you turn on revenue. Maybe figure that out, but I have a feeling you'll figure it out. All right, and everybody can check it out at healthiq.com and search for HealthIQ in the App Store. But it's only iOS now, or is it?
It's only iOS.
All right, so Android coming
very soon, actually.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks or months from this. Yeah. Are you getting the Android people like just attacking you violently like every day of your life?
It's less so than you would have thought.
Yeah.
I don't know if like chief health officers of families naturally aggregate to iOS.
You haven't had a ton of press yet.
No, we haven't.
Yeah. See, when you get a ton of press,
we've had some,
then you don't have an Android version.
Yeah, then they just like hate you.
Oh my God. I've never had so many people attack me so viciously in my life as not having an Android version. Like they feel compelled to tell you how little you know about the technology industry because you built on one platform. I'm like, what if it doesn't work? Then I built it on two platforms. That's
our theory. We were like optimize retention, engagement, virality, get it all working right on one.
Yeah, dial it in, and
then copy paste.
Yeah. All right. Listen, it's going to be very successful. Thanks for coming on the program, and everybody check out healthiq.com. We'll be right back.